Welcome to the True Life News Show today, guys. This is huge. Elon Musk has found a swarm of fraud in the Social Security system, guys. Trump put him on this mission. Go in, find the corruption, and we will hold them accountable. This is one of the biggest finds ever. Scammers have literally been stealing hundreds of thousands of people's Social Security numbers. And what's even more crazy, What's even more crazy is they were getting the benefits as well. I believe someone is going to be arrested. This is what Elon Musk said. I believe someone is going to be arrested tomorrow because there's someone who actually stole 400,000 Social Security numbers and personal information from the Social Security database, stealing their benefits, stealing their money. This is one of the biggest scandals ever. Like 400,000 for one scammer. This is what they went in to find. And for some reason, the Democrats are so hell-bent on trying to stop Elon Musk and Donald Trump from finding this fraud. And there's so many people that are not getting their checks. Why? Because maybe a scammer stole it. We don't know. What we do know is that Elon Musk is finding hundreds of thousands of Social Security numbers that have been stolen from our seniors, taking away their hard-earned money. He also called out the NGOs, the kickbacks, and all the fraud, waste, and abuse that's been happening and been found by his team. The Democrats are now suing Elon Musk and Trump big time over this. There is 158 lawsuits over Doge trying to access systems within the federal government that they should be allowed to access to, again, find the fraud, waste, and abuse. But what they're finding is that more and more resistance is coming up as they continue to dig deeper and deeper. But now that they have the hard evidence, they expect for people to finally be arrested. The DOJ is finally getting involved, and it is about dang time. Elon said people will start being arrested soon. There will be a huge win for the American people when it comes to accountability. This is what America's supposed to be. Catching all the fraud, the waste and abuse, giving the money back to the people who actually deserve it. But with all the lawsuits coming against Trump that are now on top of the judges that he has to fight already, President Trump is now being sued again by the Democrats in another big lawsuit over his executive order requiring proof of citizenship for voting and restricting the acceptance of mail-in ballots received after Election Day. Because it's so interesting that the Republicans are always winning on Election Day, and then weeks after the election, when all the mail-in ballots are sent in, the Democrats just happen to win. They want to stop the fraud. We know that there's cheating within the election systems, and they're trying to bring election integrity, and now the Democrats are outright suing them. Guys, I have stuff to show you you're not going to believe, because now they're so explicit in their being a proponent of trying to protect illegal voting and allowing illegal citizens to vote. On top of that, now Mike Johnson is facing more heat than ever to resign. He has literally given the entire House the week off because they didn't come to an agreement on a bill that the leadership and a vote that the leadership wanted. They are now asking for him to resign, give the speakership over to someone who actually will get things done and move forward Trump's agenda. Because we are here. This is Liberation Day. Trump has sent the entire world a message. Do not mess with the United States or else. We have a ton of breaking news to get into today, guys. I want to say thank you to everybody who is subscribed, to all of our viewers. If you're not subscribed, please consider joining our family here at True Life News so that we can serve you with the breaking news every single day. This is a big, big moment in history that we're living through, and we want to make sure that you are fully informed. I want to give some love to those that are members of the channel. If you want to be a member, the link is in the description to join. And remember, we do use these memberships And thank you for the super chats. And we use the super chats as well to give back to charity once a month live on stream. I want to give some love to Marin Northway for the super chat. Y'all show Marin some love in the chat. Guys, we are here to serve you with this top news. Things are getting insane. This right here should infuriate everybody watching. That these scammers allegedly ripped off 400,000 Americans from their benefits, their Social Security, their money, and they face imminent arrest. And now we actually have Congress doing something about it for a first time. Check this out.
Florida gubernatorial candidate, Congressman Byron Donalds. Congressman, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
And if you appreciate this, guys, if you don't mind hitting that thumbs up like button, thank you so much for your support.
What is your reaction when you heard all this?
My reaction is the disgust that every American has, because we knew that what Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and the left were doing in the darkness of night was shoving illegal immigrants into every role possible, whether it be entitlements or voting roles across the country. Now we have the proof. So the responsibility now falls to Congress to make sure this doesn't happen again and to get these people off of these programs. We're already running a deficit this year of $1.8 trillion. And so it is the responsibility of every Republican on Capitol Hill, and yes, Democrats on Capitol Hill, to do what is right to make sure that these programs are for the American people and the American people alone. And anybody in our country illegally, they need to go home. It's that simple.
I mean, Doge is saying, and Elon Musk is saying they can get allegedly Medicaid with their new Social Security numbers, plus child tax credits, earned income tax credits, Medicare, jobless benefits, and more. I mean, we already have problems with fraud inside these programs already, sir. What do you think?
No, that's absolutely correct. When you have a Social Security number assigned to you, you can weave your way in and out of all these other programs. And what's worse is typically when you qualify for one, you qualify for all. And so what we have to do, you got to have eligibility checks that are more robust than we have right now. That is something that must occur in budget reconciliation. The American people and the future of our finances demand no less. So these reforms cannot happen soon enough. We are grateful that Elon Musk and his team found this information, found the details around it. Now in reconciliation, we have to root that waste out once and for all. And anybody who is putting people on these roles illegally, they need to be held accountable.
Yeah, I mean, the Doge member Gracias also said human traffickers at the front end were making up to $15 billion off of illegal aliens. And then they're tipping the government over into a state of these programs, into a state of collapse, and the government into a state of insolvency, and into pushing the U.S. toward a condition of socialism and communism. We've heard this. It's not just us saying it. We're hearing it from lawmakers. We're hearing it from government officials. What was going on in D.C. was getting a sort of collectivism inside government that's poison to America. So we wanted you to listen to this, Congressman, what Doge and Musk are also saying on how this process worked. Please listen to this. Watch.
And then you go walk across the border. They do what's called a release from your own recognizance, and they give you an NTA, notice to appear, which to appear to judge. The wait times on judges are like average 6 years. Look at Grok, you'll see it on immigration judges. There's only 700 of them. This is 5.5 million people, okay? So what happens then? Once you're in the country and you got asylum through one of these pathways, and we mapped the whole thing out, you can apply for a work document. You file a 765, it's the work form. You get this form called the 766, that's the authorization, and then Social Security Administration automatically sends you in the mail your Social Security number. No interview, no ID.
So no interview, no ID. Doge is finding thousands of SBA loans, also totaling over, it looks like $333 million. That's been given out to people under the age of 11. The youngest recipient of an SBA loan, 9 months old. Borrowers over 115 years old, still marked as alive in the Social Security database. Now, Democrats will mislead, saying, oh, they weren't getting Social Security benefits. That's not the point. They were accessing other separate benefits. That is the issue. Was that going on? Congressman Byron Donalds, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you.
Guys,
please listen to this. Florida gubernatorial.
This is just, think about it. We are at the precipice of all the fraud, waste, and abuse within the system of our government that they've been trying to cover up for years. If you appreciate this exposure, you appreciate that we're actually getting to the bottom of it, guys, if you don't mind hitting that thumbs up like button, thank you so much for your support. This is, somebody posted this and realized that how true this statement is when it comes to people of Congress. Job opening, part-time work. They only work about 170 days a year. Remember, the average person works 240 days. So, the Congress works 170 days. The average worker in America works 240 days. Salary, $174,000. Opportunity for bonuses based on insider trading and willingness to compromise ethics. Unlimited vacation days. No skills or experience required. Run for Congress today. Guys, I am so glad that we are here on Liberation Day. This was posted to finally get change in Washington, D.C., across the world, to change America for the best. Want to say thank you so much, Sandra S., for gifting 5 TrueLife News memberships. Let's go. If you got a membership from Sandra, show her some love in the chat, everybody. What a blessing. God bless you, Sandra. Thank you for growing the TrueLife News family. Right now, we are facing so much propaganda from every facet. It is like every person on Trump's team is on high alert to go in and fight against this and bring the truth. Because what we are seeing is that they don't care anymore. They're willing to blatantly call out the propaganda. They're willing to blatantly say incorrect facts and to explicitly just even lie. It's getting bad, everybody. Listen to this.
The legacy media is struggling in a way that we've just never seen before. And it all comes back to the ancient principles of journalism, cornerstones that the industry have followed for the last century like lemmings for absolutely no reason. The basic codes and canons, standards that must always be followed. If you want to be considered a real journalist, you must be objective and impartial, and your audience can never know your politics. They can never know how you vote or sense any bias in your reporting, which at this point sounds completely ridiculous, doesn't it? All of that might have been fine before TV, before the internet, when we all lived in silos. But today, people want the real thing. They want authenticity. And to prove that, I'm going to tell you something that you probably already know. I've never said this before on television, though. I voted for Donald Trump in November. I did so for a number of reasons, but I voted for Donald Trump, and I don't think that changes our relationship at all. If anything, I think you probably, on some level, appreciate the honesty. And knowing that, you know where I am when I look at the news. I am to the right, yes. But does that mean I can't be a journalist? I actually think people would enjoy the New York Times a little bit more if the first sentence of a Peter Baker story read, I voted for Kamala Harris. And I think that's part of the reason why the independent media is doing so well right now. Media that literally didn't exist 5 or 10 years ago is now more powerful than the legacy media that's been around for a century.
Yes.
I think the most serious thing I've heard about him has been the E. Jean Carroll allegation that he sexually assaulted her in a Bergdorf dressing room. And I don't believe one word of that.
There are other women who have said.
I know, I've interviewed some of them. My problem is more with these Democrats who will bury these allegations against their candidates or their candidate spouses and then play holier than thou when they're looking at Donald Trump.
Authenticity. What I like about authenticity is that you cannot fake it. You can't learn it at some fancy journalism school. You've either got it or you don't.
Yep.
When I was first starting out in this business 20 years ago in my very first newsroom, there I am. I worked on a morning show, and I can remember some of the reporters, these crusty, kind of unfriendly people, sort of looked down on people in morning TV with this almost, that's not real journalism attitude. We are the real journalists here working at night. And that always stuck with me. That always bothered me because it made no sense. Why are you any more a journalist than I am? I report the news, and frankly, I make and break a lot more news than you ever have. Carol was her name. I won't say the last name. So why can't I be a journalist too, Carol? If Peter Baker admitted to being a liberal who voted for Kamala Harris, I'd respect him more. I'd probably read him more. But this whole thing that CNN is trying to do right now, and MSNBC, and ABC, and CBS, and NBC, and the New York Times, it's not working because people at home can see right through all of it. And they know.
Guys, again, what I'm about to show you in a moment, the gaslighting is so real. You will not believe the defense that CNN and a lot of these places are doing for the criminals when they won't even say the name Laken Riley. They won't even say these other, but they are going crazy fighting over the defense of these criminals and being dishonest to the American public, gaslighting people, and people see it. That's the whole point about it, and they still are doubling down. It's disgusting, guys. It's just insane, but this is the whole story. This is the truth, what you're about to see.
That most of these people are Democrats, so why not just be open with your audience about it from the start? Why do you think Megyn Kelly's doing so well? Why do you think Tucker's doing so well? Newsmax essentially didn't exist on cable 5 years ago. We just IPO'd yesterday, and today we're worth more than Fox. You can write off one of those examples, but you can't write us all off. I'm a journalist. I went to Syracuse, where I learned how to become a real journalist. You're not a journalist. You're an idiot. You're a liar. Remember this? Just last week, the CEO of NPR told the world that NPR isn't biased.
Is NPR biased?
Congressman, I have never seen any instance of political bias determining editorial decisions.
You gotta be kidding me.
87 registered Democrats, 0 Republicans. Is that accurate?
We do not track the numbers or the voter registration, but I find that
was award-winning journalist who worked 25 years at NPR, Mr. Berliner, was he lying when he wrote that?
I am not presuming such.
That was last week, wasn't 20 years ago. Can you imagine if that woman right there, the CEO of NPR, just came out and confirmed what we all know already, that NPR is definitely biased. They are Democrats who cater to Democrats. Why not just admit it? And that brings us to the White House Correspondents' Dinner, the annual dinner in Washington. I've been to it. Most people would say, oh, it's all nerds. It's nerd prom. Look, it used to be something at one point. This is something that journalists go to, real journalists. The current president of the White House Correspondents Association, the president, the head guy, tell me if by watching what this gentleman says, you might sense just a little bit bias from this journalist.
He has a hard time running against Vice President Harris because she's a black woman. You remember, actually, when he would tussle with the women that would ask him questions, our colleagues on the White House beat. Reporters. You know, he held his kind of most angry self for black women, right? If they asked him a question, he would have the worst things to say about them. So you're seeing that, right?
I can think of 3 off the top of my head.
Off the top of our head. And when he talked about Joe Biden got worse, Harris was born like that, right? That's different. That's a dog whistle to folks to say, you know, the white guy just got older and it got worse, but the black lady was born dumb. That is the kind of thing that Donald Trump is saying and selling to folks.
Okay, so that's Eugene Daniels, and he seems like a well-adjusted fellow to me. I don't know what you're talking about, but here are a couple photos that Eugene shared not long ago on his social media pages. Again, Eugene seems like he's a well-adjusted fellow, the perfect guy to be running the White House Correspondents Association. Nothing odd to see here. That's not a little strange. It wasn't even Halloween, certainly not on that day. There's too many leaves on those trees. Halloween's in the fall. He also just got hired by MSNBC, but Eugene is a real journalist. No bias there, not even a hint of bias. No way to tell who he voted for. He didn't vote for Kamala. He voted for Donald Trump. What are you talking about? Anyway, Eugene Daniels just decided to cancel the comedian that he booked to host the Correspondents' Dinner later this month, stating that, quote, at this consequential moment for journalism, I want to ensure the focus is not on the politics of division, but entirely on awarding our colleagues for their outstanding work in mentorship to the next generation of journalists. I can imagine that people might think maybe this woman might be a little bit biased, but this is the woman they chose to host their journalism dinner. Again, not a hint of bias here. She actually might be a Trump voter too. Take a look.
I don't know that anyone's looking forward to being in the same room as him.
So I'm not 100% interested in being like, ha, you're here, look at your stupid head, you're burned. You're kind of a bunch of murderers. I mean, So, like, they were...
Do you see what I'm talking about? Like, they are explicitly, they don't care anymore, guys. They're so just blatantly coming out and saying this audacious stuff. They're now suing Trump from banning non-citizens from voting. This right here, if this doesn't show everybody in the entire country where they stand on their principles, on whether they care if your vote counts or not, because every time an illegal votes, they count you out. Their vote is not supposed to be there. And this is what we're seeing now. You just heard what that lady said. They look at Republicans as a bunch of murderers. Are you kidding me? We are in history right now, to say the least, that they don't care what's said about them anymore. They're doubling down on their DEI policies. They're doubling down on their woke agenda. And I hope that everybody continues to see the truth that is not an America First agenda. Thank you so much, Kathy Brewer, for the super chat. Let's go. Y'all show Kathy some love in the chat. Guys, and then this. Again, it's like common sense doesn't exist anymore. Like, this blows my mind what you're about to see.
That is the definition of gaslighting, because what we're saying is all five of us on this set tonight can look you in the eye and say that if you committed any of those crimes, then you should be deported immediately. You should serve your sentence and go home immediately.
Yes, but they were let in. That's the bottom line. You're more concerned about the one guy that was deported than the millions of people that were let in illegally that went on to wreak havoc in cities like mine.
You hear that? You're concerned more about one person than you are about the millions of people that were let in illegally, that you don't care about all these families that have been distraught. And guys, they're just continuing to lie, and everything is coming out. All the truth is coming out over what actually happened in this last election. What actually happened with Kamala Harris, with Joe Biden, because I promise you, the deeper that this gets, there's gonna be an investigation, and a lot of stuff that Biden did is about to be rolled back with what you're about to see next. Check this out. Oh, and if you don't mind, guys, hitting that thumbs up like button, thank you so much for your support.
Every Democrat in D.C. has a story about Biden, and now they're all coming out. After the debate, Joe Biden was at a fundraiser at New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy's house, but he didn't know where to go. So his staff put fluorescent tape on the floor to guide Joe Biden around the room, but he was still confused. We're also learning that Pelosi, like Obama, didn't want Kamala to run.
She watches the debate, she's unhappy, and she thinks that, she doesn't want Democrats to rush into anything in that moment, because she thinks, oh gosh, if they rush him out, then Kamala Harris is going to be in, and she doesn't think that Kamala Harris can win. So it's sort of, she's in a pickle in that moment.
Her thinking was Biden had to get out and that Harris was a disaster. And what she was trying to do was get Biden to get out in time that the Democrats could choose someone other than Harris.
Kamala is not going to be happy when she sees this. But nobody's more upset with Pelosi than Joe Biden. According to the new book, Fight After the Coup, Biden was with his friends on Air Force One and started naming the people he would never forgive for their betrayal. The first name out of his mouth, Nancy Pelosi.
Dang.
Biden and Pelosi might never talk again.
There is still a lot of friction between the two of them. I mean, she went on air on another network and basically twisted the knife. And he and his campaign aides were just in shock. She essentially had her fingerprints all over this. The campaign knew it. He knew it. And I don't think there is going to be any love lost.
But Pelosi was right. Biden didn't have what it takes, and neither did Kamala. She spent 3 months and $2 billion crashing and burning. And the whole time, she thought she was winning.
We know that they were shocked, completely surprised by the events that unfolded on election night. They thought they were going to win. And, when they were told that they were losing in the final hours and that they had lost, there was complete silence and shock, and they were just dumbfounded by what was happening.
The Kamala kamikaze hit the party so hard, Democrat voters want a complete overhaul. They're bloodthirsty after the Biden coup and want more old heads to roll. 69% of Democrat voters say elderly leaders in the party need to retire and pass the torch. But getting rid of all the old guys only leaves the radicals. That's scary.
I've been a lifelong Democrat, and lately I'm calling myself an independent. The Democratic Party has kind of lost me. And what scares me, some of the big voices out there, AOC, Bernie Sanders, even if their message of economic populism is a resonating message, they as messengers, I'm the branding guy, says, whoa, party is way, way left. That's what scares me.
Some Democrats are trying to wash off their far left stink, like Newsom. They know it's politically toxic. You're going to see a lot of Democrats pretend to be moderate from now until 28. Don't believe them.
No.
Unless they can answer basic questions.
The Democrats are toxic for one reason. If you want to know why they're in the state they're in, just ask all of them 2 questions. What is a woman? And should biological men be in women's sport? If they are unable to answer the first question, and if they say in the second one, yeah, that's fine, that's the problem. Right there, they have gone completely crackers.
Guys, I'm telling you, like, it's a worldwide phenomenon right now, guys, what we're seeing. That you cannot deny, you cannot move past that Trump is winning big time. I've got to show you this, guys, because Liberation Day is big. This was coming from the White House. Donald Trump has secured nearly $5 trillion. Look at all them zeros, baby. In investments and trade commitments from across the globe. Elizabeth Ross, let's go with gifting One True Life News membership. Let's go. Y'all show Elizabeth Ross some love in the chat. I love it. Guys, growing the True Life News family. Look, America's growing. True Life News is growing. The community is growing. We are killing it. I love it. Guys, this is a very, very big number. Like, it's very hard to comprehend 3, 6, 9, 12 zeros, but we're $36 trillion in debt. That is a big help to getting us into a surplus and reducing the federal deficit as well as reducing the national debt. We are 100% winning with this. A lot of big stuff happened, guys, over the past couple of days. We got to bring our boy Bannon in because I'm telling you, the fight is not over, but it's literally like November 5th. Trump winning was us getting our foot in the door, but things are getting even deeper now. Check this out.
In Wisconsin, Brian Schimming had a plan and led us to victory with President Trump, a magnificent victory 6 months ago. One that kind of put us over the top. And last night, we won something that's so important for elections going forward and so dear to people in this audience's heart, and people have worked all over the country, and it's a super high priority for President Trump. That's voter ID.
Yes.
And it won big league.
Wisconsin.
Yet we lost the Supreme Court seat. And with that Supreme Court seat, in addition to all the issues in Wisconsin of life and of being able to defend yourself, everything else, we're going to lose 2 congressional seats. That's just a fact. These radical Democrats, it was over $100 million spent. They didn't put this kind of money in not to take those 2 seats. And those 2 seats put us right on the cliff, the edge of them trying to impeach President Trump. And it raises the stakes in 2026 even higher. And I told you this was going to happen. That these people are not done. We won a massive battle in November, an incredible battle, a come from behind, out of nowhere battle. But it's one battle in a continuing war against people that still control the apparatus. Look what President Trump, we're in court, I don't know, 100 lawsuits. We're going to the Supreme Court on certain things. Today's going to announce Liberation Day. And do you think over at Capitol Hill or in the halls of power of Wall Street or the corporatists that they're high-fiving him? No, they're not. It's another massive battle. Denver, you put your shoulder to the wheel, the War Room Posse, the great Matt Boyle at Breitbart, and a lot of that came, and we want to personally thank you for kind of putting up the flare to say that there was a problem in Florida 6, which we'd won by 30. I think we won by 16 last night. But this thing was in question a couple weeks ago. I just want to give you a public thanks for getting Boyle and then Boyle, giving us a heads up and you giving my producers a heads up. How did this thing play out over the last couple of days, sir?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you personally for staying up till midnight, texting with me that night with Matt and Matt's efforts, and both of you driving this to national attention and getting the posse out there across this country to realize how important this race was. How we got there, we can talk about it over the holiday special elections. Is not the best time to do these things. And the Dems realized this is their chance to take out our president, and they're one fight to do it. They dumped $12 million in this race, the fourth that the Democrat candidate, that was the fourth most in Florida history spent on a congressional race.
Wow.
12th in the nation ever. So they put massive amount of funding in, and we were down here in an all-volunteer force with these 6 county chairs and our volunteers working against that kind of spending with their paid people. And it was really, y'all leaning in and stepping up that led to national attention focusing on this race. So I can't thank your boss, thank you, and thank Matt. That's just my opinion. Is that was the turning point on Monday night, Tuesday when we got into this. I hope that people across the country realize we who support Donald Trump need to be on the lookout every day, step up and show up. Just celebrating November's victory isn't enough. This is just the beginning, as many people have said. We can't let our guard down, and we need to fight hard every single election.
Yes.
A year and a half ago, Eli Crane.
Guys, because what you're about to see next, guys, we just lost the Supreme Court. We won the House with Randy in a House seat in Florida. This is super important, guys, because if we don't get this, the Democrats are going to come at us big time over this allowing more non-citizens to vote. And we need to get behind this new SAVE Act that, dang Mike Johnson, we're not going to vote on it this week. Who knows when it's going to be voted on? They went ahead and just canceled this works week because they had they lost the vote yesterday over the proxy voting from home for new mothers or new parents. But this is super important, guys. Very, very important. I want to say, if you appreciate this, guys, thank you so much for your support. If you don't mind hitting that thumbs up like button, doing us that huge favor, we appreciate you so much.
You're a friend of mine and often a participant on your show. Eli offered an amendment based on all the work we had done when we were going through all the amendments after the McCarthy stuff. When we were offering in appropriations bills, we said, look, this USAID funding is ridiculous. And so Eli offered an amendment to cut 50% of it. But 102 Republicans voted for it, but 114 Republicans voted against it. That's what we're up against.
Right there, guys. I don't know if you caught that. They tried a couple years ago to dismantle USAID. 114 Republicans voted against reducing USAID, which Trump has now just fully dismantled. That's how it tells you how many rhinos are still in the system.
We're up against Republicans who always find an excuse for why they have to vote for more spending and for a program that continues to rack up debt. Ronald Reagan said famously, and I think you will agree with this, in an interview with Johnny Carson in the 70s, I was speaking out at the Reagan Ranch 2 weeks ago to some kids, high school kids, and I was back looking at a bunch of his clips, and Reagan said to Carson, every program that a member of Congress brings forward, they ought to have a tax increase along with that program to pay for it. Now, neither you nor I support tax increases, and Ronald Reagan sure as hell didn't support tax increases, but his point was right. We've got people up here who want to go out there and say, I cut your taxes. I've done all this wonderful stuff for all of you, generally speaking, donors. And, look at me, I'm a good Republican. But what they don't do is cut the inflation tax, which is being driven by the radical amount of spending, as you pointed out, not just COVID spending, the entirety of the morass that is the federal government. And if we don't reduce that spending, we are not going to make America affordable again, which means you can't make America great again. I do think Scott gets this. I think the president gets this, but we need to get it with more fervor in Congress and, frankly, at the other end of Pennsylvania Avenue to get this done.
You hear that,
in
guys?
Wisconsin.
Again, like what I'm about to show you next, it's just getting deeper and deeper. More people are being revealed. All these rhinos are being revealed. How could we know how much corruption is in USAID, and how could literally half of the Republicans vote to keep all the spending? Half of them, over 100 of them. That tells you how many rhinos are in the system. Chad Wells, welcome to the family. Let's go. As well as Sandy L. Let's go. Y'all show Sandy and Chad some love in the chat, everybody. So right now, 27 states filed brief with the Supreme Court backing Trump's use of the Alien Enemies Act to deport Tren de Aragua gangsters. It should be 50, but now we have at least the majority of states are siding with Trump's deportation plans of these hard gang criminals. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, guys, because remember, there's 50 states. 23 states are not voting with this. It literally shows you the polarization of our country, where people stand at, where their priorities are at, because what you're about to hear next, guys, I'm telling you, I love it that we are getting some smackdowns on CNN with the truth, but it is 100% unconstitutional for these judicial judges to literally control the sitting president with TROs, temporary restraining orders. But listen to this.
He came to the state, he talked about cutting Medicaid, Social Security through Doge, bringing those issues up.
Actually, he never talked. He explicitly said in Green Bay that he would not cut Social Security.
Well,
that's exactly what he said.
Talked at his rallies.
No, other people said about that, but I was there. I watched him.
Okay.
He did not say he was going to cut Medicaid.
Other people at his rallies who work for Doge, who work for Elon Musk's organization, talked about those issues.
No, I was at the rally. Not one of them said that.
Do you
That's
think that
what
there are
protesters said.
Do you see that propaganda? CNN's propaganda? Oh, they talked about cutting Social Security. They talked about cutting Medicare. They never said it. Trump has explicitly said, we will not touch a penny of Social Security. We will not touch a penny of Medicare. Elon Musk comes out and says, hey, we're going to actually increase those on Social Security. But this propaganda is what is fueling the hate towards Trump when it comes to all these lies.
But nobody there actually said
Do you think that there are risks here?
There are.
For
People believe the lies that people are saying about that.
Being
But that's not at all what they said. If people believe that Medicaid and Medicare is going to be touched, that's just a flat, outright lie. What he talked about are people who are over 120 years old, who clearly are not alive.
Well, the reason I brought it up is
Social Security or Medicare.
Okay, well,
that's totally wrong. I think
just to sort this out, the reason I brought this up is because the claim here is that there's massive widespread fraud and that's all they're addressing. That's obviously a disputed claim because it's not true that 120-year-old people are getting Social Security checks. The checks stop at a certain point automatically because those checks and balances
But those Social Security numbers get counted for various parts of the federal government. So they don't get a benefit directly to those people, but they count for money that gets allocated to different departments in their budget. And they shouldn't be. If somebody's no longer alive, they shouldn't be able to count that.
I guess my fundamental question was, what are the risks here of Elon dabbling in elections for Republicans going forward?
Well, again, I think in the end, he's going to...
Do you see how she's saying, what are the risks? They're always focused on the bad instead of saying, hey, what are the positives? Are Americans going to win with this? Are Americans going to be better off because we're fighting the fraud, waste, and abuse? It's a leading question to a negative connotation over this matter, over this issue.
Have to continue to make the case. Part of the reason why when we talked about our recall, what flipped things for us early on in that recall process, Time Magazine called me Dead Man Walker. And the reason was because all the narratives coming out from the press, coming out from the left, were about all these horrible, egregious things. Once we started to give examples of things we were actually doing, not the things the press said, not the things that our opponents said, but the things that we were actually doing, when we ended up going before the voters in the final election in the recall, we actually won by more votes than we did. So I think that what's paramount for him or anyone else aligned with him is keep giving actual examples of what they're doing.
Yes.
Set aside things like Social Security and make it abundantly clear that that's not being touched. But if there's waste, fraud, or abuse, spell it out, make the case, and bring it to the voters.
Governor Walker, great to have you. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Still ahead, more.
You see that, guys? It's like everything they're leading is to negatively put a negative outlook on how Doge is doing, how Trump is doing. It's just mind-blowing. Because if people don't see this, because trust me, I call this out too, even on Fox, no matter who it is. You don't want to do leading questions. You want to ask an open-ended question so that people can see a non-biased answer and get the truth. But thank you so much, Surgical Wizard, for the super chat. Let's go. Said maybe I should run for Senate and replace the rhinos. 100% vote Surgical Wizard. Y'all show Surgical Wizard some love in the chat. Because I'm telling you guys, it's getting worse. The fraud, waste, and abuse, the more that's uncovered, the harder the resistance is going to fight. Listen to this.
Going to end schemes that are draining taxpayer dollars.
As the saying goes, the wheels of justice turn slowly but surely. And I think probably the person that stole 400,000 Social Security numbers, at least, maybe more, will be arrested hopefully this week.
In 21, you see 270,000 people, goes all the way to 2.1 million in 24. These are non-citizens that are getting Social Security numbers.
Yeah, this is a mind-blowing chart.
We went there to find fraud, and we found this by accident.
All right, Valor CEO and Doge volunteer Antonio Gracias, the guy you just saw, was just with Musk in Wisconsin over the weekend. He joins us from the North Lawn. Antonio, good morning to you.
Good morning, Steve.
That's a jaw-dropping number. Where did all those people come from?
Well, it made my jaw drop too when I saw it. We were in Social Security looking for fraud, waste, and abuse. And to do that, we actually looked at the enumeration system, the system by which people get numbers in America. And we found that there were just about 5+ million of them that came into the country as illegals, were giving various forms of parole or allowed in the country, and then got through an automatic system, Social Security numbers, so they get into our benefit systems. And we tracked that through and found that they were on the benefit programs. And just because we were curious, we then looked to see if they were on the voter rolls. And we found in a handful of cooperative states that there were thousands of them on the voter rolls and that many of them had voted.
All right, guys, right there. Do you remember in 2020, there were some states where Trump lost by 8,000 votes, 9,000 votes, 10,000 votes? That you just heard him, yeah. Thousands of people were on the voter rolls. Thousands of people voted. This is what the Democrats wanted. This is why we're trying to stop, all the corruption, because we know it's there. They know it's there. They know that they're getting the votes. This blows my mind so much. And this just reaffirms that Donald Trump, I believe, actually won the 2020 election. Let me know your thoughts.
That's crazy because you cannot vote in a federal election, but I think in certain local elections you can. But, once you get a Social Security number, that helps you do a lot of stuff. I know, Antonio, part of this started with a program from, I think, 2017 that got started, where if people came into the country and they were authorized to work, they would automatically give them a number. But, Elon was talking a little bit about how 400,000 Social Security numbers were stolen. It was one person. What can you tell us about that?
That's an ongoing investigation, so I don't know how much I can tell you, but we did find as we looked through the programs, and a particular employee that had actually sent themselves Social Security numbers through their email for reasons we don't understand, but clearly nefarious.
Yeah, it does sound like it. So let me ask you this, Antonio. Have you figured out, you saw these millions of people, non-citizens, on the Social Security rolls. Did they get benefits?
Yes, we actually tracked them through the benefit programs. We found them in virtually all the benefit programs.
All of them.
And one statistic for you is we found 1.3 million of them on Medicare.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen to those people?
Look, we referred people that were registered to vote, which is a federal crime, and people that voted to ICE, to DHS, and to the DOJ. They've committed to prosecute. And I think it's super important to point out here that none of this would have happened without President Trump. President Trump had the courage to allow us to go across databases. He signed an executive order. It's never been done before, where agencies could talk to each other and databases could talk to each other. That allowed us to connect all this data to find these people across the system, across the benefit system, all the way to the voting records.
Yeah.
It really took a lot of courage.
Hey, Antonio, you're a big shot business guy. You know what you're doing in your business. When you went in, I can't think of the last time somebody essentially audited the the Social Security Administration, aside from the federal government. But, you know, they've got all these kind of antiquated, crazy rules. Like, I know you uncovered millions of people over the age of 120 and just recently kicked them off the rolls, right?
Yes, that's correct. We did an audit of the entire system, enumeration system for Social Security. And look, the reality is the people in the government know this. There are many, very good people that are helping us. We couldn't have found this stuff without them. We needed them to point us in the right direction, and then we looked at the data. So, you know, if you ask people the right questions, they will give you the answers, and they want to help.
Yeah. Antonio, exit question for you. Given all of the abuses you've already found and these people who are getting federal benefits who should not, do you have a price tag on how much you guys are saving the American taxpayer just from Social Security?
I mean, look, it's in the billions. You know, you saw the fraud on the phone lines itself. That was about $1.5 billion. And I would guess at Social Security already we're north of 10 billion.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, the meter's running. Antonio, thank you very much for joining.
Guys, do you realize what he just said? This is what they're finding. Tens of billions of dollars. Tens of billions of dollars. Trump is focused on doing what? Trying to uncover the fraud, the deep state, trying to make sure that people get their hard-earned money. And this is what the Democrats are focused on. Democrats are suing President Trump over his executive order requiring a proof of citizenship for voting and restricting the acceptance of mail-in ballots received after Election Day. Musk is over here, says Social Security scammer who allegedly ripped off 400,000 Americans' Social Securities faces imminent arrest. Do you see the contrast? Like, this is what literally blows my mind is what a contrast of the priorities, the focus of where MAGA is at and where the Democrats are at. And it's so blatant. I hope that more and more people see this. Because right now, guys, the exposure of not only the Democrats, but I'm telling you, the rhinos, certain people, like, I'm just still not a big fan of Mike Johnson. But when it comes to people like John Kennedy, Byron Donalds, Josh Hawley, you know, Tulsi Gabbard, some of them, these are the pit bulls that we need in leadership, guys. Listen to this.
What does Senator Kennedy think is the most expeditious, most efficient way of trying to rectify the unfair trading practices? What you been thinking about this, Senator?
Lower prices, improved quality of life in America. I think President Trump won this election in large part, Larry, because people felt like he would be better in terms of the economy. What does that mean? That means lower prices, better quality of life. Our plan is to do that in 3 ways. Number one, reduce spending, which will cause interest rates to go down and stimulate the economy less. Deregulate the economy so goods and services will be cheaper. And number 3, design a tax code that looks like somebody designed it on purpose. Now, what role could tariffs play in all of this? The truth is nobody knows. I've listened to economists for the last month. Some say this will cause a recession. His tariffs will cause a recession. Others say it will cause growth. In my 8 years in Washington, what I've learned that for every economist, there's an equal and opposite economist, and they're both usually wrong. Some of these experts make those late night psychic hotlines look respectable.
Yes, sir.
I do know this. I understand where President Trump.
Guys, if y'all appreciate John Kennedy, guys, if you don't mind hitting that thumbs up like button, thank you so much for your support. I love this guy.
Is coming from. America is the wealthiest country in all of human history. It's consumer driven. Our people like to buy stuff. So the president is saying, let's use our leverage. He's saying to every business in every country in the world, if you want to sell to America, move your business here. I get it. And in the long run, he's right. But in the long run, we're all dead. The short run matters too. And the truth is, we do not know yet what the impact of these tariffs are going to be. We just don't.
Well, he certainly set up a lot of incentives for onshoring. Come on here, build a factory here. We're going to give you immediate 100% expensing. We'll give you a low tax rate, 15% corporate tax rate. I mean, I think that's part of it. My thought in the opening riff was just simply to say that the tax cuts and the deregulation will go hand in hand with the tariff diplomacy, whatever that diplomacy happens to be. I mean, it's going to pay to come here. I think that's a key part of this story, sir.
Well, let me say it again. I believe that the recipe for lowering prices is to reduce government spending, deregulate the economy, extend the Trump tax cuts, and redesign the tax code. I know that will work. I don't know what the impact of tariffs will be. It may be positive, but I just don't know, and no one knows. Here's the best case scenario. The best case scenario is that you're absolutely right, that tariffs cause businesses in the short run to move here. They hire people, the economy explodes. Worst case scenario, the tariffs cause inflation. Inflation causes the Federal Reserve to raise interest rates. That puts pressure on labor costs. People are laid off. We go into a recession. We lose the midterms, and President Trump's 4-year term just became a 2-year term, because if we lose the House, the president's going to spend his last 2 years defending himself against frivolous impeachment proceedings. So that's the best.
Isn't that a sad thing, guys? That literally, we already know that if we don't have the House, that they're going to try to impeach him. Already. They did it twice in the first term. It's so sad that we already know their agenda, but this is what people need to see is, if we know how the Democrats are going to act, it's not in America's best interest. It's not putting America first. It's all about their stupid agenda of stepping over Americans for other countries to fill their own pockets, to take care of illegals. Guys, what I'm about to show you next is literally disgusting. It literally blows my mind how many times we see them disregard the American dream, the America First agenda.
Best case and the worst case. All I'm saying is, I'm being very candid. No one knows the impact of these tariffs, because in the long run, I think we'll be fine. But no one knows the short run impact.
Well, I think actually, I mean, I would tend to agree with you. No one has a perfect crystal ball short run. I think, Senator Kennedy, I think he's looking long run. I mean, I think he's convinced that we can do much more in manufacturing. I think he's convinced that we've had the short end of the stick. The world trading system has been broken for many decades. The World Trade Organization, isn't worth it's not worth the ground that it sits on, wherever it sits on that ground. I mean, I think he's looking at it from a longer. He himself has said, and it was interesting that he said it, that there might be some difficulties in the short run. He's actually said that. And, I think Trump would be willing to make adjustments along the way if there are, for example, too many difficulties.
Let me say it again. I agree. I see where he's coming from. And in the long run, if these tariffs cause businesses and other countries to move here, that will be a net positive. I get it. All I'm telling you is that in the short run matters too. It just does. And anybody that tells you that they know what the short-term impact of these tariffs is going to be on the economy has been homeschooled by a day drinker. They're making it up. They just don't know, because we've never seen tariffs in modern history to this extent.
No, roger that. You were mentioning government spending a few minutes ago. Here's a little quick tape of Elon Musk in Wisconsin, Senator Kennedy. Take a listen. It's real fast.
At least for some period of time, we're going to make sure that your taxpayer money is spent at least 15% better. It's not like I think it's a reasonable goal. It's a rational goal. It's a sensible goal. And the net result, I should say, if we have the combination of a $1 trillion increase in economic output and a $1 trillion decrease in the budget deficit, then the outcome should be that there is no inflation or very little inflation.
What do you think of that paradigm? $1 trillion increase in output and $1 trillion reduction in spending will vanquish inflation. What do you think of that, Senator Kennedy?
He's right.
Yeah.
What caused inflation?
Government spending.
Joe Biden caused inflation because his favorite type of spending was more. And all that money sloshing around in the economy created demand. And inevitably, we had inflation. If we reduce spending, as Mr. Musk is trying to do, then that will reduce fiscal stimulus.
Yep.
And it will lower prices. That's just basic economics. And I'm a big Musk supporter. I think he's doing an extraordinary job. He deserves a personal pan pizza or a nice hat or a cold beverage or something. I don't think he needs money, but I'm all for what he's doing.
Guys, let me tell you this. The Elon Musk, John Kennedy, like these guys, they're fighting hard. The Senate is still in session. The House, they got a little vacation this week because Mike Johnson and the leadership of the House decided that because they didn't win this last vote, we're going to take the whole week off. For whatever reason. He didn't have to do that. But Senator Mike Lee came out and said, why are the top Democrats suing to allow non-citizens to vote in America elections? Guys, this is the receipt. This is the actual receipt of them suing all these top Democrats wanting to allow non-citizens to vote in federal elections. Why? Because that's the only way they know how to win. They will lose. We already just heard it, that we have illegal non-citizens that are voting. We already just heard it, that when it comes to them getting benefits, they've been getting benefits, tens of billions of dollars. And when it comes to the next elections, it's going to get hard, guys. I'm telling you, if we have federal IDs across the board, Republicans win the next 16 years. After that, it'll be a hard fight because the Democrats will have revamped themselves. But that's how much I think we are ahead. Now, when it comes to the Republicans right now, there's a lot of infighting, guys. Marjorie Taylor Greene, we know her. We really like her. She came out and voiced her opinion on what happened. So we got some of the Republicans that are fighting. And this is not good for Trump's agenda. Listen to this.
What we just voted on, this rule, Luna's bill, is extremely unfortunate. You know, being in Congress is a privilege. You don't have to be here. And there's plenty of people in her district that could serve in Congress if she chose time to be home and be a mother. I'm very much against the bill that she's trying to force to the floor and the way she's going about it. And I think it's wrong. And it's really going to open up the door to proxy voting, which is already unconstitutional, and we shouldn't be doing it. And I think members of Congress need to basically leave their egos at the door and realize that this is an important job. In the same way that soldiers go off and they're deployed overseas, they come home and actually meet their babies for the first time, and their babies are several months old. Members of Congress don't have to be here. They don't have to be here. Being a member of Congress is a privilege. You're serving your district. There's lots of seasons of life. I'm a mother. I've raised 3 children. And when my children were babies and were young, I prioritized them in that season of life. Now I serve in Congress because I'm not raising children. And I think that's a really important point to make. And if any member of Congress, for any reason whatsoever, finds them in a situation where they're not able to do the job here, the important job we're elected to do, they should step down because someone else can serve in their place. They're not required to be here. They're not more important than anyone. They're not more important than people in their district. And they shouldn't go across the aisle and work with Democrats while Democrats use a baby propped up around the floor trying to prove their point. But instead, they're holding a baby proving the point you can be a mother and serve in Congress. So I think today, I think this is unfortunate and it's distracting and it's off message and it's not the agenda. It's not serving the American people.
Guys, I'm telling you, I hate the infighting. Trump is furious right now. I do got to show you this, guys, because this is such a win right now, guys. Canada concedes to President Trump and agrees to remove all tariffs. All tariffs, everybody. All tariffs, baby. They said that Trump couldn't do it, and he did it. Do y'all realize how much tariffs are on us from Canada? If the United States does. That's what Trump's plans was about. That is what I'm talking about, Liberation Day. That is America freaking winning. Sorry for my French. But I'm telling you guys, this is a win. When you can remove all the tariffs, we're all fair. You want to tariff us 10%, we'll tariff you 10%. But it ain't going to be no more. Do y'all realize that we're almost $2 trillion in trade deficits a year of how much money we lose because these other countries tariff us? This is America winning, guys. This is the Trump effect. This is Trump changing the world. This is everybody knowing do not mess with the United States. This is what I'm talking about. And not only that, guys, Trump's team is just kicking butt everywhere. Even with this whole climate change agenda, even with the whole, we're saving so much money because we're moving away from this DI. Remember, they said that the world was going to end in 2010. Then it was 2015. In 2020, we're going to have an ice age. It's all an agenda, guys. But what I love is that America is winning. Listen to this.
Of experiencing the rich history of the Environmental Protection Agency firsthand. How about an exhibit on the EPA's COVID prevention efforts in New York City's subway system? Well, too bad. Because Administrator Lee Zeldin is shuttering the Biden-era EPA museum, calling it a ridiculous waste of money.
We're in a one room that is less than 1,600 square feet. You'll see all sorts of time missing. You might remember during this period between 2014 and 2021, there was a Trump presidency. Yeah, they just conveniently leave that out of the timeline. This is everything, $4 million to build this. I don't even know how the heck they need to spend $4 million for this one room.
He says it's costing taxpayers more than $600,000 annually to operate, which wouldn't be that bad if anyone actually visited it. Despite having a prime location just a block from the Smithsonian Museums on the National Mall, the EPA Museum logged fewer than 2,000 visitors in 10 months, meaning taxpayers paid $315 per visitor for a free attraction. Isn't that great? Jerry Baker, I like what Lee Zeldin is doing at EPA, and this is a small example of the cost cuts he's making there.
Yeah, very small. When does this close? Because have I still got time to rush down there?
If you took a train right now, okay, Jill, you could probably see.
By the way, having lived in New York, I don't need anybody to go and for a museum to go and see how the New York subway handled life during COVID, or indeed handles life during anything right now. So thank you very much. Now, what an absolutely ridiculous example of, money to spend, which, taxpayers' money, which they just think that they know how to spend better than anybody else. I agree with you, Brian, about Administrator Zeldin. I think he's doing a terrific job there. We know the story. The U.S., is extraordinarily blessed with incredible energy resources. Every effort of the federal government should be being directed towards enabling the safe and clean extraction and development and use of that energy, rather than ridiculous ideas like the museums. But more importantly, this regulatory environment that we've had for the last 4 years, which has basically been trying to suppress U.S. production. A lot of it has, even though U.S. production has increased despite those efforts, but also this, enormous subsidies being given to these green sources of energy, some of which will may be able to succeed on their own. We are seeing some progress in wind, some of which do require these subsidies. Why are we spending that money when we have this extraordinary ability for the United States to be self-sufficient in energy and to produce its own energy, and we're doing all of this? So yeah, full credit to Lee Zeldin.
You know what gets me, Taylor, is nobody, literally nobody knew this thing existed.
No, I
mean, nobody went to it unless you worked at the EPA. They said people would walk into that museum thinking it was the EPA offices. They weren't even looking for the museum. They had no idea what was going on. But there's no transparency in these budgets, okay?
No
so you got
transparency.
all these Doge protesters and all these people saying, oh my gosh, the unethical cuts to government.
Yeah.
What's unethical to me is they're hiding all this money in these budgets, and finally somebody brought a big flashlight and is showing us what's happening.
Yeah, right? Like we've talked about this, right? With the leveraging the private sector. The private sector does audits all the time. You have people come in and managing your income statement, what comes in, what goes out, and if it doesn't work and if the math doesn't line up, you usually cut the out. You don't increase the in.
Yeah.
And we've talked a lot about the spending program. So look, the transparency, this reminds me of the soundbite we played yesterday where the guy protesting said, I don't need to look at the Doge website because I don't believe anything Doge does. If you look at the Doge website, you can start to see some of the real things that are being cut.
And Jackie, you add on top of it what Elon Musk and the Doge team are finding with all of these non-citizens being added, given social security numbers, added to the rolls, makes them eligible for benefits. There was such an accretion of bending the rules, money going out the door, creating all these rights, creating all these little fiefdoms. And it's finally starting. It looks like we're turning the page a little bit on that because somebody's exposed.
Yes. It's all coming home to roost. And actually, in 2024, for the year, 2 million non-citizens were receiving Social Security. And if you looked at the trend, you saw that under the Biden administration in 4 years, that number was slowly creeping up as more illegals were entering this country. Whether it's this ridiculous EPA museum or the fact that you've got illegals receiving Social Security that didn't pay into it, or dead people receiving Social Security, whatever it is. Some of it's comical. We laugh at it, but it's not comical. This is real money. This is our money. Every year they ask us for more money to keep doing things like this, and I'm just glad that somebody is finally shining that light on it and saying, we are going to put a stop to this. It's got to stop.
It's sort of like dark humor, Dagan.
No.
I'm trying here. I'm reaching out.
No, look at my face. No, because we paid for it.
Right.
Yeah.
I
That's the
find
dark part of it.
zero humor in it. No. Red Fox, funny. Tony Fauci, not funny. And I bring up Tony Fauci, and yeah, I'm stuttering a little bit. Remember the $168,000 to fund a Tony Fauci exhibit at the National Institutes of Health that Elon Musk.
I also did not go to that exhibit.
168,000. I just hope that austerity begets austerity, because the one thing that has driven me throughout my entire professional career is a fear of being fired. And I don't want to screw up. Well, I've tried not to screw up. But again, if you cull enough people and you cut enough jobs, maybe that the people who work in government will be afraid of losing their jobs if they
actually
spend
do a good
money
job
or work on something like an EPA subway museum.
Is the Hunter Biden museum?
Guys, let me tell you this. It's so mind-blowing what we have seen, but what I love is the exposure, guys, and we're going to keep bringing this to you every day. I want to thank you to all of our viewers, all our subscribers. If you're not subscribed, please consider joining the TrueLife News family. We want to take care of you every day with the top news, guys. This is so much is going on, so much is news is out there, but we want to show you what is the actual facts, what is the actual base of facts, not just opinions and propaganda. What is actually going on behind the scenes? And we hope that you get value out of our shows. If you don't mind hitting that thumbs up like button, doing us a huge favor with that. We really appreciate you. Want to say thank you to all of our members of the channel. Guys, we couldn't do this without you. It means the world to us that we've been able to coalesce such a community that wants to give, wants to make positive change in this world, and we're making a huge, huge difference, guys, in all the charities that we give to each month, guys, and we do it live on stream so that you can see. If you want to be a member, the link is in the description to join. We want to give some love to those that have given today. Sandra S. for gifting True Life News memberships. Kathy Brewer, Elizabeth Ross, Chad Wells, Sandy L., Surgical Wizard. Guys, y'all show them some love in the chat. We love you all so much. We're here to take care of y'all every day. Remember, Monday through Friday, 2 shows a day, 1 on Saturday, 1 on Sunday. We're so excited because for the first time in a long time, America is winning. We're living through history, and we're going to keep fighting for that American dream, baby. Love you all. Take care, and we'll see you in the next one.